Hey everyone, Colette here, 26 female, and let me tell you about the craziest roller coaster ride of my life. Buckle up because it's a wild one. So a couple of years ago, I decided to venture into the vast land of Russia to pursue a one-year counseling program. Little did I know this journey would lead me to a hunky Russian fellow named Vladlen. Picture this, tall, tattooed, and arms like tree trunks. I mean, how could a girl resist? Within the blink of an eye, things between Vladlen and me went from casual to let's plan a wedding. Yep, love. Works in mysterious ways, folks. We were all set to start a life together, and I couldn't have been happier. Fast forward to the big day, and my family flew all the way to Russia to join the celebration, including my stunning sister Shelley. Now, don't get me wrong, Shelley is drop-dead gorgeous, and it's not like I haven't noticed the heads turning when she enters a room. But what I didn't expect was for my soon-to-be hubby to be shamelessly gawking at her. It started with little glances, the ones you might overlook. But soon it escalated to full-on stares, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. The rehearsal dinner was a breaking point. Vladlen was practically drooling over Shelley's presence, and I was done playing nice. Right there in the midst of our wedding festivities, I called him out. I mean, come on, this was our celebration, and he was acting like he just discovered the eighth wonder of the world in the form of my sister. Okay, now you're pushing it, buddy. What do you mean, my love? Cut the crap, Vlad. You think we all can't see you looking at my sister like that? It's embarrassing. I don't know what you're talking about. You're pathetic, you know that? Why am I even marrying you? So, after that disaster, that was our rehearsal dinner, I stormed out like a tornado, leaving everyone in shock. It was awkward to say the least. The families were left baffled, wondering what the heck just happened. I mean, who could blame them? They didn't fully understand the intense showdown between me and Vladlen. All they saw was an enraged bride-to-be storming off. Later that evening, Shelley found me in my room, drowning in my tears. She's always been the level-headed one in our sisterly duo. Shelley tried to comfort me, telling me everything would be all right, but deep down, I was questioning if I was making the right decision. But you do see how he looks at you, right? Honestly, I haven't even noticed. Are you sure it's not all in your head? I know what I'm seeing, Shelley. Okay, I got you. I don't know why he's staring then, but I can assure you it's not because he wants me. Oh yeah? Then what is it? I don't know, okay? But what I do know is that this man loves you. What makes you so sure? Shelley dropped a bombshell on me. Apparently after I left, Vladlen broke down in tears, pouring his heart out about how much he loved me and didn't want to lose me, and how he didn't want to mess things up between us. Stupidly, at the time, I thought that this was super romantic, completely forgetting how he was drooling all over my sister just hours earlier. I thought, well, if he can cry so openly like that, he must feel something for me, right? So in my clearly emotional state, I decided to go through with the wedding. Call it madness or a moment of weakness, but I chalked up Vlad's fascination with Shelley to some weird quirk. After all, we look alike, but are as different as night and day. I'm the type to scale a mountain and get into a brawl with bouncers at a club, while Shelley looks like she'd break a nail trying to open a can of soda. So with a heavy heart and a ton of mixed emotions, we carried on with the wedding plans. I forgave Vladlen, thinking that maybe this would be a small bump in the road, but little did I know that the storm was far from over. So shortly after that bump in the road, Vlad and I had tied the knot, and for a little while everything was picture perfect. We were glowing from our honeymoon phase, and during our romantic escapade to Spain, where there are plenty of beautiful half-naked women to gawk at, Vlad seemed to have learned his lesson. His eyes were glued to me, and I was cautiously optimistic that we were on the right track. But of course nothing is forever. The honeymoon phase vanished the moment we landed back in Russia. Reality hit hard, my friends. As I settled into married life, I quickly realized just how difficult it could be. Vlad and I? Different in so many ways. Our approaches to life, chores, and even the simplest things clashed like titans in an epic battle. The fight started rolling in, and they were nothing short of explosive. It felt like we were biting each other's heads off by the 3rd month of our marriage, and I was already feeling tired. Vlad and I sat in our living room, the tension thicker than the Russian winter air. The argument had started innocently enough. Dishes left in the sink, socks scattered like breadcrumbs on our living room floor. But as these mundane issues often do, they morphed into a full-blown disagreement about our entire approach to domestic life. Vlad, seriously, how many times have I asked you to pick up after yourself? The house is a mess. I don't see the problem. It's just a couple of things here and there. A couple of things? Turns into a pigsty. I can't focus in this chaos. Focus on what? It's just a house. We're not in a museum. You need to relax. It's called having some pride in your living space. I didn't marry a frat boy. I married an adult. Adulting doesn't mean obsessing over every little thing. You need to chill. Chill? Vlad, do you realize how much I do around here? It's like I'm running a one-woman show, and you're just an audience member who occasionally throws socks on the stage. I work hard outside the house. Maybe if you got a job, you wouldn't stress so much about this. You did not just go there. You know I'm finishing my counseling program. It's not like I'm sitting around eating bonbons. It doesn't feel like you're contributing much. I contribute by keeping this place from becoming a disaster zone. To say I was confused would be an understatement. I mean, how did we go from a passionate romance in Spain to this war zone in our home? It was crazy and exhausting. Don't get me wrong, some days were better than others. He'd show me why I married him in the first place, but I was getting sick and tired of the back and forth. I thought that this was just going to be my life from now on, but things only got worse from there, and it was all because of a pair of underwear. Let me explain. Vlad's brother, Nikolai, was staying over for a week due to work. He lived in St. Petersburg and rarely came to Moscow. So having him over was a treat. I always liked Nikolai. He was very kind and smart, and we had a lot of shared interests. He was a true brother-in-law, someone who actually cared about me. So one day, while sorting a load I wanted to wash, I found myself with Nikolai's laundry in hand. He had left his clothes in the washing machine, and I was about to transfer his stuff to the dryer so I could put my load in. As I was transferring his things, Vlad happened to be walking by, and he saw me holding up Nikolai's underwear. Let me tell you, that set him off. He started saying all sorts of crazy insults, calling me an honorless woman without letting me explain the mix-up. My attempts to clarify only made things worse. And you have the nerve to talk to me about gawking over your sister when you're here fondling my brother's underwear? Listen to what you're saying right now. You think I want Nick? You're crazy. As you can see, I'm simply doing laundry. I don't want to hear it, Colette. You're a liar and a hypocrite. God, I feel so stupid. Vlad, please calm down. Let's talk about this like adults. I'm trying to explain. I don't want to hear you right now, Colette. I'm not in the mood. I just found out that my wife wants to get with my brother. How sick is that? The laundry room became a war zone, and Vlad's anger seemed to grow with every word I spoke. Tears welled up as I tried to reason with him, but he stormed out, leaving me stunned. Nikolai came just as Vlad left and found me in tears. It was supposed to be a simple week of family fun, but instead it turned into a nightmare driven by stupid accusations and insecurity. Colette, what's going on? I heard yelling. Is everything all right? It's actually very stupid and embarrassing to admit, but your brother thinks I want you. What? Really? Why would he think that? Because I was moving your laundry into the dryer and he saw me holding your underwear for 2 seconds. Damn, I always knew he was crazy. You're telling me, did he get dropped on his head as a baby or something? No, but I did knock on it a couple of times when we were growing up, so maybe that did some damage. I laughed. He always knew how to make me smile. I'm sorry, my brother is an idiot. I'll talk to him, don't you worry, and I'm sorry for landing you in such crap. No, you have nothing to apologize for. He's the one who needs to say sorry. He called me an honorless woman. What? That is not okay. I think you need to hit his head a couple more times. Nick and I talked a bit more before he headed out to work, and I thought that Vlad just needed to blow off some steam, and then he'd come back home, apologize as usual, and we'd go back to some semblance of happiness in this godforsaken marriage. But that didn't happen. When Vlad got back from God knows where, he was giving me the silent treatment, something he had never done before, and something that he said he'd never do. Vlad's silent treatment was so obvious, but I thought it would pass. Well, it didn't. Even after Nikolai went back to his city, Vlad kept being distant and cold. Weeks passed and Vlad's attitude didn't change. I couldn't handle it anymore. One day I just broke down in tears. I needed to know what was up with Vlad and why he was so angry with me. Vlad, please talk to me. I can't live like this. But all I would get in return is radio silence. I begged and cried and begged again, and he finally said something. I don't love you anymore. Those words hurt like hell. It wasn't just a lack of love. He straight up hated me. The guy I thought was my partner, my love, was treating me like garbage. In the past, we'd argue, but things would usually get better. This time, it was different. Vlad wasn't interested in making up. He seemed to enjoy piling on the insults. It sucked, realizing he just didn't care about me anymore. I felt stuck. I wanted our marriage to work, but Vlad was making it impossible. Dealing with his crap became a daily struggle, and I couldn't figure out why he was doing this. A whole year passed, and our relationship just got worse. We moved around the house like we were strangers, avoiding each other. I questioned myself every day, wondering why I was still putting up with this. Shame and embarrassment stopped me from asking for help or even leaving because I didn't want to have a failed marriage. I thought that we could get back to how things were in the beginning. That's why I was holding on to hope. I wasn't ready to give up. I hoped things might change, that the guy I fell in love with would come back. But with each passing day, that hope faded. So here I was, stuck in a nightmare of a marriage with Vlad. He had turned from this loving guy into someone I didn't even recognize. I was tired, fed up, and I just couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. Then, one day, out of the blue, my sister Shelley called me. Hey, sis. Hi, how are ya? I'm doing well. So listen, I have some news to share with you. I'm going to come to Russia. What? That's amazing. I've missed you and the fam so much. Seeing you would be a breath of fresh air. Trust me. It turns out my sister was coming to Russia to study the same program I did when I first got here. Man, I was over the moon. Finally, a break from the toxic home I was stuck in. When Shelley arrived, the dynamics at home changed. Vlad, who barely spared me a kind word, suddenly transformed into Prince Frickin' Charming. He was all over Shelley, tending to her every whim, promising to show her around the city like she was royalty. I couldn't believe it. Vlad hadn't even offered half the things he was offering to Shelley during the entirety of our marriage. But she'd been there for a day, and he was already speaking like he was written by Shakespeare himself. This angered me like you wouldn't believe. I could see through the act. It was crystal clear. He was truly in love with Shelley, not me, and he resented me for it. So I decided I was done with him, completely this time. I stopped trying. I stopped trying to please Vlad and win his affection. I had nothing left for him, not an ounce of love. He could get hit by a freight train and I wouldn't bat an eye, and you wouldn't believe how much this surprised him. I swear toxic people don't even have two brain cells to rub together. He was so used to me begging for his attention, he practically expected it, and now here I was, just done with his BS. One day the tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Vlad was trying everything to get a reaction out of me, but I wouldn't budge. I had reached the point where I just didn't care anymore. This drove him nuts. He couldn't understand why I wasn't reacting to his usual provocations and insults. It was like a switch flipped, and now he was the one on edge. It was liberating in a twisted way. Watching Vlad squirm because he couldn't control me anymore was the revenge I didn't know I needed. I realized I wasn't going to let him dictate my happiness or self-worth anymore. "Colette, why haven't you made dinner yet?" "Oh, I made dinner, just for myself, though." "What? Why?" "Because I asked you what you wanted to eat, and you ignored me." "I thought you'd ask me again. Why didn't you check in again with me?" "I'm not your mother, Vlad. Why do I have to repeat myself? You're a grown man. If you want to eat something, go and cook yourself something to eat." "You see, this is the crap I'm talking about. You make me so mad." "That's nice. Are you done?" "Do you know something, Colette? You're worthless." "Yeah, I said it. I really got dealt a bad hand when I met you. God, I wish I had married your sister instead. Maybe I wouldn't be so miserable." I'm not going to lie. It stung to hear those words, but I quickly recovered and said, "You know what? I can say the exact same thing about your brother." Vlad's rage was like a storm in the house when I dropped the bomb on him. I'd never seen someone that angry before. I told him straight up that I was done, that I wasn't going to play his games anymore. The more he yelled, the more stuff he broke, and the less I cared. I had reached a point of no return. While he was going berserk, I calmly packed a duffel bag. I didn't bother to answer when he asked where I was going. My actions spoke louder than any words I could have thrown at him. It was time to escape this toxic mess. I slammed the door behind me, leaving Vlad to stew in his own madness, and then I booked a flight to St. Petersburg. A couple of months went by, and that's when I received a call from Vlad. I'm guessing he was tired of giving me the cold shoulder as he usually does. He probably expected me to come back begging, but not this time. Anyway, he claimed to miss me, stating that he wanted to change and be a better man for me. Yeah, like I haven't heard that before. I roll. He invited me to a family reunion he was hosting, telling me how he wanted to make things right again. Part of me was skeptical, but I agreed to attend. When the day arrived, I brought Nikolai with me. Obviously, I was staying with him when I went to St. Petersburg. After spending time with him in his city, he had become a comforting presence. Walking in with my brother-in-law instead of my husband raised a few eyebrows, but of course people brushed it off. We were family after all. Little did they know the storm brewing beneath the surface. Vlad's reaction was immediate fury when he saw us together. The tension was thicker than peanut butter, and I knew he wanted to scream his head off like the toddler he was, but he had to keep his cool. I greeted Shelley as I hadn't seen her in a while. As we made small talk before being seated at the dinner table, I knew this was the moment to lay everything out on the table. Before we said grace and began the meal, I stood up. All eyes turned to me as I announced that I had something important to say. The room fell silent, and I took a deep breath, ready to reveal the truth. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all well. I have a small announcement I would like to make. I would like everyone here to know the kind of person my husband is. As I began to speak, I laid out the crap I went through with Vlad in the past year of marriage, stories of Vlad's erratic behavior, his cruel words, and the emotional toll it had taken on me. Gasps and murmurs spread across the table, and I could see shock registering on the faces of our family members. Vlad, in a desperate attempt to divert attention, started awkwardly laughing, dismissing my words, but I wasn't about to be stopped. As the room was buzzing with disbelief, I dropped a bombshell that made Vlad jump up from his seat. The revelation hung in the air, casting a dark shadow over the family reunion. It was a truth I couldn't keep hidden any longer, and I was glad I was there to see it all on his face. The shock, the anger, but most of all, the humiliation. Very recently, Vlad actually told me that I was worthless and that he wished he had married my sister instead. What? Gross! That's not true. That's not true at all. Don't listen to her. She's crazy. Colette, shut the hell up. No, Vlad, I will not shut up. The people need to know the truth. Anyway, back to what I was saying. As you can imagine, those words were the final nail in the coffin. So I hit him back by saying that I would say the same thing about his brother. But you see, the difference between Vlad and I is that I back up my words every single time. I slowly stood up from the table and I removed my jacket to reveal a small but very visible baby bump. You might think I'm worthless, Vlad, but your brother certainly doesn't think so. Everyone was shocked. There was silence for a moment, and it looked like Vlad was too stunned to speak for the first time in his life. Now, before any of you say anything, I just want to make it clear. Colette and I have been getting to know each other more, and well, there's no easy way to say this, but I love her, and I want to treat her better than this idiot ever could. Bro, really? How could you do this to me? You're my brother. And you're an adamant child in the body of a man. This woman loved you with everything she had, and you consistently showed her that you were just a child. Don't be mad at me because she wanted a real man. That set him off for real. Vlad lunged at his brother, and Nick quickly dodged his attack. They started fighting, and everyone in the family started going crazy. I couldn't speak fluent Russian, but I could understand that everyone was upset. I mean, clearly. I sat down with my sister, and she just stared at me in disbelief. So, let me get this straight. You had a baby with your brother-in-law to get back at your husband? Do you know how crazy that is? Honestly, he had it coming. Now he has to live with the fact that his brother is in love with me. You are one cold gal, Carl, but honestly, I'm impressed. So you're not mad? I could never be mad at you, especially with what you explained about how he treated you this past year. Why didn't you tell me about it? You know, I would have booked the first flight here to knock some sense into him. I was embarrassed, sis. I thought that I could thug it out and be strong, but I realized I didn't need to do that. I had someone about 4 hours away who didn't want to treat me like crap. One thing I've learned in this life is that you have to go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. I know that's right. And clearly Nick was doing a lot of celebration. It was honestly quite crazy, laughing and giggling alongside my sister while Nick and Vlad were being separated by their very angry family members. Nick was saying he loved me and that he'd marry me the second my divorce from Vlad was official, and Vlad was saying that he wasn't going to be humiliated like that. Some of the family members were on Vlad's side, calling Nick an a-hole for getting me pregnant, and other family members were on Nick's side, saying that they raised Vlad better, and that if any of the things I was saying were true, then Vlad didn't have the right to be mad, since it was clear that he hated me. Of course, I got some glares from some relatives, but I didn't give a damn. I was going to have a good life with Nick, and Vlad will have to live the rest of his life knowing that I got knocked up by his brother.